I'm going to show you how to do a trace of the program. This particular program is a short program at the end of chapter 4. It's on page 152 under the exercises number 1A. I've already got it typed in Notepad up here so you can see what we're working on. But I want to show you how to go through, and the problem is show the output, but I want to show you how to do a step-by-step trace of the program. Normally what you would do is go in, and I'm going to do this in Paint, and it's going to be a little bit sloppy, but we'll see how it goes. I go in and list out all the variables. Okay, so this program starts out with the variable a equals 3, so I'm going to have a, and underneath it I'm initially going to have the value of 3. Right, the next statement says b equals 4, so I've got a variable b, and it starts out as 4. And then I'm going to have a variable c, and it starts out as 10. Okay, so that's the first 3 statements. A equals 3, b equals 4, c equals 10. Now I hit this while statement. While a is less than c, a currently is 3, c currently is 10. So that's saying while 3 is less than 10, 3 less than 10 is true. Remember, when it's true, the condition of the while statement is true, that means you execute the body of the loop. So the first statement in the body of the loop is a equals a plus 2. That means take the current value in a, which is 3, and add 2 to it, gives you 5. But saying a equals that means take that 5 and put it back into a, which replaces the current value of a with 5. Alright. B equals b times 2. So take what's currently in b, multiply it by 2, which gives you 8, and then put that value back into b, replacing the 4. So now b is 8. Alright, hit the end while. That takes you back up to the while statement, which checks to see if a is less than c. A is currently 5 now. C is 10. 5 less than 10 is true, so you go back into the body of the loop. A equals a plus 2. Take what's in a, 5, add 2 to it, gives you 7. And place that back into a, which replaces what was in a with a7. B equals b times 2. Take what's in b, multiply it by 2, that gives you 16, and put that back into b, so now b is 16. Right, hit the end while, back up to the while statement, a less than c, a is now 7, c is 10, 7 less than 10 is true, so you go back into the body of the loop, where once again you say a equals a plus 2, a is now 7, add 2 to that, and put it back into a, makes a 9, right? And b equals b times 2. Take what's in b, which is 16, multiply it by 2, which is 32, and put that back into b, which replaces the 16 with the 32. Hit the end while, back up to the while statement, while a less than c. A is currently 9, c is 10, 9 less than 10 is still true. So you go into the body of the loop, a equals a plus 2, take 9, add 2 to it, gives you 11, and put that back into a, replacing the 9 and 11. And b equals b times 2, so take what's in b, which is 32, multiply it by 2, giving you 64, and put that back into b, so that 32 gets replaced with a 64. Hit the end while, back up to the while. While a is less than c, a is currently 11, c is currently 10, 11 less than 10 is false. So instead of executing the body of the loop, if you have a false here after the while, you jump to whatever is after the end while, which is simply output a, b, c. So a lot of times with the trace, we want to have over here our output. And so the output's going to be whatever's in A, which is 11, whatever is in B, which is currently 64, and whatever is in C, which is currently 10. And that's the output for problem 1A, 11, 64, 10. Okay, I want to do a more complicated problem now.
This one is off the same page, page 152. This is problem 1E. On the same page. It's a little bit more complicated problem because this one actually has a group of nested loops, nested while loops, one inside the other. But again, tracing, you take this step at a time, very carefully, and record the value of your variables at each time. So it gets easy to answer questions like, you know, is this while condition true or false? Because you just look back on your chart and see what the current values of the variables are. All right, looks like I've got 3 variables here. So I've got a P, which starts out as 0. I've got a Q, which starts out as 3. And I've got an R, which starts out as 6. Okay, while P is less than 5, P is currently 0, so 0 less than 5 is true. So we go into the body of that loop. P equals P plus 1. So you take the current value of P, which is 0, add 1 to it, which gives you 1, and replace P with that value, so now P is 1. Alright, output P, Q, and R. Okay, so we're going to have output inside the loop. So over here, I'm going to create an area for my output. Alright, and so the first output, P, Q, and R, means output whatever's in P, which is 1, output whatever is in Q, which is 3, and output whatever is in R, which is 6. Alright. Next statement is the while Q less than R. Q is currently 3, R is 6, so 3 less than 6 is true. So we go in and execute the body of that loop, which is Q equals Q plus 1. Take the current value of Q, add 1 to it, so you get 4, and now put that back into Q, so it replaces the old value of Q with 4. And output PQR again. So the current value of P is 1, the current value of Q is 4, and the current value of R is 6. Okay, so we're right there. Now we hit the end while. Now, of course, hitting this end while, you got to remember that each end while matches up to a while, and it actually matches up to the closest unmatched while. So this end while matches to this while. This end while, which I misspelled, matches up to this while. Okay, so we just hit this end while statement, so we go back up to the while statement while Q less than R. Q is 4, R is 6, 4 less than 6 is true. So we go into the body of that loop and we say Q equals Q plus 1. Okay, so that takes 4, adds 1 to it, which gives you 5, and puts that back into Q. Alright, so Q is now 5. Output PQR. So P is currently 1, Q now is 5, and R is 6. End while. Now again, we've hit the end while of the inner loop, so we're back to the top of the inner loop. Check to see if Q is less than R. Q is 5, R is 6, 5 less than 6 is true, so you go in and execute Q equals Q plus 1. That takes current value Q, which is 5, and adds 1 to it, so you get 6. And that puts that back into Q, replacing the 5 with a 6. Output PQR. P is 1, Q is 6, R is 6. End while. Back up to while Q less than R. Q, which is 6, R, which is 6, 6 less than 6 is false. Right? That's less than, not equal to. So 6 less than 6 is actually false. So we jump to the statement that's after the end while for this loop, right, this end while here. We jump to the statement after that, which is the end while of that loop. So we hit the end of the while P less than 5 loop, hit the end, so we go back to the beginning there and check to see if P is less than 5. P is 1, right? 1 is less than 5. So we say P equals P plus 1. That takes the current value of P, adds 1 to it, and puts that back into P, so now P is 2. Okay. Output PQR. P is currently 2. Q is 6, and R is 6. So we get 2, 6, 6. All right. Now, while Q is less than R, now notice Q is still 6, R is still 6. So while Q is less than R, 6 less than 6 is false. So we do not go into the inner loop. We jump to whatever's after the end while for the inner loop, which is the end while for the outer loop. So we go back up to the top of the outer loop. P less than 5, 2 is less than 5. Right? So we take P, we say P equals P plus 1, which takes the current value of P, which is 2, adds 1 to it, gives us 3, puts that back into P. So P is now 3. And we output PQR. So we output 3, 6, 6. Alright? And then we hit the while Q less than R loop. Q is still 6, R is still 6. So Q, or 6 less than 6 is false. We jump to the end while. What's after the end while? Which is another end while. So we jump up here to the while P is less than 5. 3 is less than 5. That's true. So we go into the body of that loop and we execute P equals P plus 1. P, which is 3, we add 1 to it, which we get 4. Put that back into P. So P is now 4. Right? And we output PQR. So P, which is 4, R, which is 6, Q, which is 6, and R is 6. Got to run out of room. All right, that's that output statement. While Q less than R, Q is 6, R is 6, 6 less than 6 is false, so we jump to whatever's after the end while, which is this end while, back up to the top of the while P less than 5 loop. P is P plus 1. So we take 4, add 1 to it, get 5, put that back into P. Right, so now P is 5. And we output P, Q, and R. I'm going to go way over here. P is 5, Q is 6, R is 6. So we get 5, 6, and 6. Right? We hit while Q less than R. Q is 6, R is 6. 6 less than 6 is false. So we jump to whatever's after this end while, which is this end while, which takes us back up to the while P less than 5. But P is 5 now. 5 less than 5 is false. So we jump to whatever's after the end while for that while statement, which is this one. So we go to the output PQR, where we output P, which is 5, Q, which is 6, and R, which is 6. And that's the last statement of the program. Right? So that's the end of the output, 5, 6, 6 there.